Waiting for the notifications to go out for those of you on the replay. And until then, salud. Let's see how the algorithm will treat me in the middle of the afternoon. It's been kind of hit and miss, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll learn together. After all, this is a learning channel, right? We discover things together. We figure things out. Normally we have good discussions, but you know, whatever. All right. Somebody's here. Hello, whoever you are. Salute. What's up, DJ? Oh, man. Just seeing if some of this momentum keeps catching. Some of these lives they hit, some they don't, man. So I'm interested to see if the all-powerful algorithm is going to keep up its momentum for me. But I saw the good news. I have good news to spread, my friend. My brothers and sisters, I have good news. Antifa is now officially classified as terrorists, where they always deserved to be. What's up, Daycab? They've always deserved to be classified. If the Proud Boys are terrorists, then by God, Antifa should have been declared terrorists a long time ago. Long time ago. After all, the Proud Boys have never killed anybody that I'm aware of. That means these sons of bitches, these anarcho-communists, are going to be treated the same way as, well, the cartel boat we just sank in Venezuela. And how Trump treated ISIS when he had to take those assholes out there in the Middle East. So these guys are homegrown, so it'll be much more effective. Nervous about where this leads. The fact of the matter is, Antifa, the people that comprise Antifa, are no better than the fascists they purport to hate. They are anarcho-communists. And the communists are as bad, and in many cases worse, than the fascists. And mind you, we don't really have fascists running around here in the United States. It's just not a thing. Just because we don't agree with 73 genders and some other policy disputes does not mean that we're fascists. Fascists weren't known for going around and propagating the values of free speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press, petitioning your government for grievances, and so on and so forth. Those aren't fascistic ideals, guys. Fascism is about an authoritarian centralized government where everything is to and from the state. Kind of like Marxism. In fact, it's exactly like Marxism, right? And that's why they get along so well, at least in the beginning. But what happens when you get two similar groups fighting for the same resources? Well, there's a fight. And that's what happened. And, yeah. It's nice to see that we're finally going to get some head cracking in the streets with these fucking ninjas. And I call them ninjas because they like to dress up in all in black with their face covered like a fucking ninja. So when these guys come out in their black bloc in the streets in Portland, Seattle, and one of these other strongholds they have, Trump is going to unleash the power of the state upon their asses with righteous fury. And I can't wait for that to happen. I'm not crying. I'm celebrating. What are you talking about? There are no tears coming down from these eyes. I am celebrating. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, AOC is an out in the open communist, which, by the way, there's still laws on the books about being a communist as a politician, specifically, and among other things. That's why these guys tiptoe around the lines like Hassan Piker. I'm a socialist. Are you? Are you really? Those laws are still on the books. It may surprise some of you, but yeah. It's not good to be out in the open communist and trying to be in the politics of America. Just saying. How do you determine if something is Antifa? Well, they are essentially a splinter cell organization, kind of like other terrorist groups, and we've had well over 20 years of dealing with splinter cell terrorist groups. It just happens to be most of our experience has been dealing with them overseas. Now, we got them here. So, am I going to know the ins and outs of the FBI and how they're going to handle domestic terrorists? No, I can't say that I do. You know, it'd be like saying, hey, they're going to issue SWAT on some of these assholes, but it doesn't mean I know SWAT tactics. You know what I mean? I don't know the minutia. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. First of all, and you need to realize this, the National Socialists were not fascists. The Italians under Mussolini were fascists. The National Socialists were something else. They were similar to Mussolini's fascists, but they were not the same. So that right there is showing your ignorance in history and political ideology. I'm just saying, the nuances matter. For example, the Italians didn't have a problem with the Jews, and I discussed this with you people in a prior live feed. But yeah, there were plenty of Jews in Mussolini's fascist party of Italy. Don't know if you knew that or not. Don't know if you knew that or not. So you just don't know what you're talking about. Uh-oh. Where do you assassinate? Was that the drama of us? What do you say about Osama bin Laden? I think Osama was a guy that used to work with us until he didn't. And when he stopped working with us and helped orchestrate one of the greatest catastrophes perpetuated in our country, he became persona non grata and eventually became fish food. You're mad at people who put... No, I'm mad at people labeling people as fascist when they don't even know what a fascist is, and they themselves are anarcho-communists, and communists are worse than fascists. So, yeah, just because you're against something doesn't mean I'm for you. I could be against both simultaneously because both ideologies are abhorrent. You understand what I'm saying? Not saying I like Antifa doesn't mean I like fascism. I just don't like communists. And I also don't like fascists. I want them both to be obliterated. Because, funny enough, there's more than just, it's more than just a dichotomy, it's more than just a duo option, right? There's more than two options is what I'm saying. I got to dumb it down a little bit. There's more than two options on your political ideology leanings. It's not communism or fascism. No, there's many more options than that. And that's the lie that they're trying to perpetuate. That's true. Commissioner, that's true. No ideology is perfect. That is very true. You're a communist and you're a lowlife. Yeah, I agree. You're a communist and you're a lowlife. I agree. You're a commie shitbag. You're a filthy commie shitbag. And you guys are getting your comeuppance. I just don't really like the 98% of Congress gets private lobby money, the billionaires rule us. Well, that's true. That's true. And I don't have to like that either. I don't. I'm not in favor of oligarchy. Just because I don't like Marxists doesn't mean I'm in favor of the oligarchs. Don't get it twisted. It's, you guys trying to make it like an either or. It's not. It's not. There are many, many options. Nobody is talking about files. Well, we can talk about files. Yes, I am disappointed in Trump that the Epstein files have not been released. I can say that. I don't agree with 100%. I'm not in lockstep with any politician, guys. I like a lot of what Trump is doing as far as cleaning up our borders and instilling the rule of law that's always been on the books and ferreting out the people that shouldn't be here, because as big of an open heart that you have for a lot of these people, they're hurting the working classes, our working class economy. The illegals are only helping the billionaires that you said you hate, right? So if you don't like the billionaires and you want to improve working class conditions for Americans, then you have to get rid of the illegals, and that's all there is to it. You see, that's called logic and reason. You want to be able to afford a house again? Well, the 20 million people that came in are taking a lot of the low-income starter housing that normally our kids would get, and build upon their, build some wealth up and launch their family and so on. We can't do that, right? So the affordable housing now is $500,000. There's a reason for that. So we have to correct, and all it is enforcing the law. The law is already there. It was just being ignored for the billionaires, not for us, not for us working class devs, but for us. Uh-oh, here he goes. Here he goes. What? Moonbeam Amir. Here you go. I said it for you, buddy. Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing. It's like, oh, it's just they're just going after brown people. No, no. Trust me, they've gotten rid of a lot of Russians from a lot of Russian trucking companies, and yeah, they're going after the South Koreans too, who are supposedly our ally. They had a couple of hundred illegals working at a Hyundai plant. I'm just saying, it's not just one people, and it's the leftists out there trying to say that we're just going after brown. No, we're going after everybody that should not be here, and we're going to keep the ones that we allowed to be in here because they've been vetted and they were invited. Right? We have legal immigration. Nobody say, hey, stop immigration. No, stop the illegal immigration. Because I want my son to be able to afford a house when he's old enough. I want him to be able to go out and get a job with benefits without having to share a one family dwelling with 10 other people, or 10 other families, right? I want them to be able to pay taxes in the community and have that tax money circulating within that community so we can get shit done, like filling our potholes or paying for our schools. Remember Baltimore? They can't pay their heating or AC bills. It doesn't have to be that way. So this is just a correction. My toupee. Oh, you think that's a toupee? I don't know if I'm honored or not, but that's au naturel. I hate to break your heart. That's natural, buddy. That's all me. But I'll take the compliment, dumbass. Yeah. They should stop the. No, they can't. Well, one, they can't. It's like saying I'm going to stop the FBI, or I'm going to stop the IRS, or I'm going to stop the cops. No, they're federal agents. You're not stopping ICE. The people are going to be deported. Many more actually have, and the more the ICE ramps up, the more self-deportations, the more that where Trump was magnanimously offering the $1,000 cash, you can get your fares in order, you go home, and then you can apply to come back in later. But if Homan has to go get you, oh, by the way, we'll give you a guaranteed plane ride home, right? But if Homan gets a hold of you, we're going to lock you up. We're probably going to take your shit, and then we just want you out of the country. You're not necessarily going back to where you came from. We may send you to fucking Uganda or Papua New Guinea or fucking Turkmenistan or Kazakhstan. We just want you the fuck out of here. We don't care where you go. So if you want to go home with all your shit and then be able to apply to come back in later, you need a self-deport. Because if we have to go get you, You're not going to like the results. And you're probably going to wind up on the other side of the planet. Just saying. Shut up, Pool. What's going on, man? Yeah, well. Because we're trying to make nice with the Indians. We want them to break away from Russia and China. So we're kind of throwing them a bone. It is what it is. They're the largest democracy on the planet and they're most populous country on the planet. So we are trying to make nice with India. Right? But India is not a friend to anybody. But it's not, if we can make them our friend long enough where they stop buying Russian oil so we can wrap up this Ukrainian war, that'd be great. Right? We could tackle BRICS later, but we just got to get them to stop buying Russian oil so we can end the killing in Ukraine. That's what that's all about. So, and I don't have a problem. They're a democracy. I mean, they got their own issues, right? So every country does. But I'd rather work with India than China or some of these other countries. So it is what it is. It's all a game of political brinkmanship, and it's always about it's diplomacy and making concessions, right? It's like, okay, well, you guys want to keep working IT here in the United States, and yeah, you got some smart motherfuckers over there, some of them, and we'll allow you guys to keep making money doing that because we're expanding our tech sector, by the way. So there's going to be room for everybody here very shortly. Tell you what, we'll let that continue for now, but you got to stop buying Russian oil. We'll see what happens. It may not work, and then we wind up having to close the tap anyway. But you make the ask, right? You make the ask, and you try the diplomatic route. Because India should be good friends with the United States, because we have a lot in common, at least politically. And they're a peace-loving people, and they don't really have that much. I mean, they're currently actively fighting with China over the Himalayas. They're lobbing artillery shells at each other still to this day. So they should want to be our friends, if for the very fact they want to keep the Chinese at bay. Varun from India. Hello, Varun. India's kind of playing the fence right now, man. That's what they're doing. They're riding the fence a little bit, but we're going to try to sway them to our way of thinking. Will it work or not? Don't know. Modi seems like a somewhat reasonable type of guy, and maybe he'll realize that working with the USA is in his best interests. But we'll find out. We'll find out. It is what it is. Some parts are, some aren't. Just like the United States. We got some shitty spots here in the United States too. Yeah. Like I said, we have enough in common. We should be getting along with the Indians, Hindis, however you want to describe them. I don't even think you guys call yourself Indians, right? You're what the hell you call it? Shit, it was on the top of my tongue. I'll go look it up later. It's like Turkey just changed their name too, because I guess it got tired of being compared to the damn birds over here, because we eat turkey every Thanksgiving. Now that they're Turjit or some bullshit like that, whatever. They're the invaders. They need to get the fuck out of Constantinople and Byzantium in general. Reunite Christendom with the rest of Europe. And they can go fuck off back to Tajikistan and Turkmenistan, where they came from. They have a homeland, and it's not Turkey. The Ottomans are not indigenous to that area. Anywho, you look English. I mean, how's the Englishman look anymore? They're not exactly all white. They look more like Pakistanis anymore. They look like a group full of Sadiq Khans. Is that rude of me of noticing? Or is that just reality? That may be why 3 million native Englishmen showed up the other day with the Tommy Robinson rally. They had a lot to say about the current affairs, as they should, by the way. You know, people give us like, oh, it's a theory about it's the great replacement theory. Oh my God, you're a fascist for noticing reality. Like, no, it's happening. And again, I talked about that in a prior life. And you guys can like it, hate it, or love it. Doesn't matter. It's reality. It's reality, and it's being perpetuated on these nations by the globalists, and the people there are not too happy about it. Whatever. Yeah, well, I mean, Hungary too. You can't forget Viktor Orban. Right? He's not big in the immigration. And it's not immigration, right? So if you or I were trying to go over there, we'd be vetted, right? And then have to say, hey, I got skills that I'm bringing over, or I'm being sponsored by a company, so I'm not going to be a drag on society. What we're not doing is taking in a million fucking Syrians, passing through all of these damn countries to get right there to Hungary or Poland, right? You must have passed through 15 fucking countries on your way up north. And I don't blame them for leaving the area because of the Syrian civil war, but it, one, it's not a permanent thing, right? So Syria, the civil war is over, right? The refugee status ends when you go home because the fighting's over. But they don't want to go home. Why do they want to go home and be amongst their people? You explain that to me. If I try to explain it, I get called a racist. You tell me why they don't want to go home, back to their homeland, to their own people. Could somebody explain that to me? Right? It's so wonderful. Why not? How do I feel about Israel? I can like them or lump them, to be honest. I mean, they're technically an ally, but they haven't always been the greatest of friends. They get us a lot of bullshit in the Middle East that I'm not thrilled about. But again, the people that are fighting are kind of worse. So it's kind of the devil you know. Um, so yeah, I can like them or lump them. You know, I don't really give a shit about them one way or the other. They're on the other side of the planet as far as I'm concerned. I do know that they are overly represented in our media, our financing, and our government. There's too many dual citizens in general, but Israeli dual citizens in particular in our especially in our federal government. So um, I think that needs to end. I think if you're at least at the federal level, you have to get rid of your dual citizenship status. I think that needs to happen. Um, but they got money and they buy a lot of weapons from us, which makes us happy as well because those are made by Americans. So there you go. No, he did not. His daughter did when she married Jared Kushner because he's Jewish, and as you know, the Jewish lineage goes through the matriarchal line. So if Kushner had children with, I can't remember her name off the top of my, Trump's daughter, and she didn't convert, then those kids would no longer be considered Jewish because she's not Jewish. So she had to convert to Judaism, which is fine. Which is fine. You should want people to go back and forth to religions, learn about each other. You know, it is what it is. It doesn't bother me. That's part about being American. You could be whatever you want to be, just as long as you're not out there fucking with other people. Her converting to Judaism doesn't affect me in the slightest. Couldn't give a shit. You know, I know other people that don't follow mainstream religions. You know, them worshiping one deity over another. I don't really give a shit. Personally, I think it's all baloney because I am an agnostic, so I don't think there are deities floating around judging you for 80 short years on this planet to dictate what your immortality is going to look like. I think that's kind of retarded when you have an idea of what 80 years is measured up to eternity. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think it's all kind of fucking retarded, honestly. Pronouns are mech. Do you identify as a taco there, Cool? And I apologize. I'm trying to keep up, but it's hard to read because of the glare, because there's a lot of sunshine today, because it's beautiful outside, which is why I took you out here with me, because it is nice. Maybe. I don't know. Did he? Did he defraud the guys? Yeah, you go out there and you take things out of context. Maybe he did. Maybe there was a reason why with him. Maybe they did subpar work. Maybe they didn't meet their contractual obligations, so he gave them he took away a bonus. You know, there's a lot of things there, especially in building contracts, where it's not a guarantee. If you fuck up, you pay for it. If you don't meet a deadline, you pay for it because now you're costing the contractor money. So don't you have to take a lot of what you read with a grain of salt, to be honest, as far as stuff like that goes, because they're just looking for a gotcha moment. This guy's Antifa. Nah, well, I am anti-fascist. I'm just not a commie shitbag. I'm just not a commie shitbag. And communists are shitbags. They're authoritarian. They're no different than I mean, they are Marxists. Let's be clear. But so are the fascists. That's why they both have authoritarian governments, right? Individuals can't have rights under socialist regimes because everything is to and from the state. So you can't have individuals going out there and thinking for themselves. That's what the government's for. They tell you how to think. They tell you where to work, how many widgets to make, how many kids to have, what house you're going to live in, and so on and so forth. Whether you can drive a car or not, get on a 20-year waiting list for that. I'm just saying, it's not good. It's not good. You know, whether they're going after you because you're of a particular race or religion or class, at that point becomes academic because it's the same structure and system. It just is. And it's about time some of you Marxists go out there and realize that you are no different. You realize, and again, if you open a little thing called a book, you'd realize that Mussolini and Gentile, who created fascism, were socialists. They were avowed socialists. Bigly. But they got to a point where, because they were actually they were witnessing in real time what Lenin was doing to Russia after the Tsar was deposed. And they thought they didn't go far enough. So they created fascism. And then they started hating the socialists because obviously they're similar ideologies and they're competing for the same resources. So what happens when you have two different tribes competing for the same water hole? One of them is going to get their head kicked in. And that's what happened. Let's go after the dogs and the cats when they kick in the door. Yeah, race and class has everything to do with immigration. We have immigration. It's illegal immigration, and illegal immigration only helps the oligarchs that people profess to hate. It only helps them. We have labor laws for a reason. We don't want kids working in factories anymore. We want good environmental practices, and we have a minimum wage, and they pay taxes and so on and so forth. We don't want a bunch of illegals committing identity theft and fucking up everyone's Social Security, and getting a home loan and everything else to go along with it. I mean, there's a whole laundry list of crimes that these people are committing just by being here, and it needs to stop. It was always against the law. It was always ethical. It's just now being enforced because why? Because we got populism again, baby, and that's what we needed for a long time. Because populism is patriotism. It's not bullshit. Or are you talking about Burger King being good? I don't know. I'm trying to keep up, guys. Illegals pay taxes they can't get. No, they don't. They only pay sales tax. They don't pay payroll taxes. Stop with the nonsense. That's fake news. Illegals are not paying payroll tax. That's the whole point of being illegal. They don't have the documentation to pay payroll taxes. So stop. The only time they're paying taxes is when they buy something. That's it. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't file taxes. What the hell is wrong with you? Illegals aren't out there unless they stole an identity from an American. They're not paying payroll. They're not paying income tax. No, they don't. Stop with that. No, they don't. How can they? They don't have a social security number and they don't have a work authorization number with a green card. How are they paying income taxes? Stop with the bullshit. No, they don't. The only taxes they pay, because everything they receive is under the table, which is the fucking point. Hello? Hello, McFly? Hello? Are you there? They're not documented. Duh. So the only way they would pay these taxes that you're reporting they claim is because they have issued identity theft, which is worse. So no, I mean the only answer is they have to go home. That is the answer. That is the only answer. They go home. Period. And then these companies that were predicating their business model on illegal labor will either get right with the law and start tracking workers the normal way, like every other company in the United States that's following the law, or they go out of business. Either way, I win. I don't give a shit. Because if they go out of business, somebody with some money is going to do it right. It's going to come along, snatch their shit up on the cheap, do it right, and create a thriving business for Americans. It's a win-win-win-win situation for old Boggsy Boggs. Yeah. Happened a long time ago, man. There's been a lot of time and real estate between us and the Brits since then. I can say that Britain and tangentially Europe, because they used to be part of the EU, are sliding towards authoritarian. The EU is basically Soviet light. They're the Soviets without a military. That's what they are right now. They don't share American values. They don't have the concept of freedom of speech. I could not do this broadcast that I'm doing right now over in Britain without some fucking cops coming to harass me because I'm pissing some of you guys off. Because apparently hurt feelings means more to them than my right to speak about these subjects. So no, I think that's abhorrent. And it's completely against what we consider Western values. And that's why the right is rising in Europe and even in Britain right now. Because people have had enough. They've had enough. But that's why we're unique as Americans, because we do have a written constitution. We have codified rights as our foundation of this government. And it's important that we remember that our so-called allies don't have what we have, and they do a lot of scurrilous shit that they would never be able to get away with here in the United States. Right, Hool? About the issues in the UK, then some was great to hear. Well, I follow some, there are cousins, right? There are cousins and supposed allies, and they have similar governments to us. So one of my favorite Brit podcasts, or the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, with Carl Benjamin, or better known as Sargon of Akkad. I do enjoy. I've been following him since Gamergate, and it's been fun watching him grow in stature as far as his online presence, even going through all the trials and tribulations that the British government has put him through by demonetizing him and flagging, almost losing his channel. Hell, I almost lost my channel because talking about the 2020 election. that YouTube was finally forced to admit that there was some hanky-panky going on with 2020. And yeah, I used to have a lot more content on my channel, but I had to get rid of it because my channel was under attack and my freedom of speech was was being assailed because I noticed things like mail-in ballots is election fraud, and I maintained that, and I've never walked away from it. It is. 2020 was a fortified election. Never should have went down the way it did. There's no way that Biden got 81 million votes. The only way that was happening is that a bunch of illegals were receiving the mail-in ballots and sending them in, which is election fraud. Which is why European countries don't utilize mail-in ballots, because it's too easy to defraud the electoral system. And quite frankly, we as Americans, if we don't have faith in our electoral process, well, that's basically all we have to keep us from going after each other. Because if it's that easy, because when you have election fraud and you have people that are outside the country canceling out an actual citizen's vote, then there is no recourse. What recourse is left if you can have an outsider canceling your voice, your lawful voice? What is the option that's remaining at that point? See, it's dangerous. Try growing up. Dude, I'm as grown as you get. Yeah. No, he actually won that. We won that vote. You're the retard thinking that he actually legitimately got 81 million votes. That's retarded. And I don't know what to tell you. I understand he wasn't popular because of what happened with COVID. COVID wasn't his fault, but he still got some of the blame. But to think that Biden legitimately won that is, well, I mean, you're just a window licker. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a kind way of putting it. You're not. You should be wearing a crash helmet and a drool guard. You know, you just you're living in an alternate reality. If Biden had legitimately won, I would have just sat over here biting my tongue like I did with Obama, because I did not like Obama. He was another Marxist shitbag, and a lot of what we're going through right now with all the revolutionaries marching through the streets is his fault. Because this shit wasn't happening under Bush, or Clinton for that matter, or the first Bush, or Reagan, or Carter. None of this shit was happening until Obama. So a lot of it is his fault. Yeah, that's not true. It was a close election, but yeah, they had the dangling chads. I remember that with Al Gore and all that bullshit. That was there hanky-panky going on with that hool? I don't know, probably. But it still was a very close election, and they had to call it for somebody. Whatever. If you think it would have been better under Gore than the second, I mean, Gore was just a dumbass. I'm sorry. With his inconvenient truth about climate change alarmism and all that shit. I mean, just stop. Who was the person that actually won the governor's race? They don't overturn it, and the loser became governor. That's true. Yeah, the courts found that Kari Lake actually won over Katie Hobbs. Funny how Katie Hobbs was Secretary of the State, and one of the primary responsibilities of a Secretary of State is to run the election. So she's the one that gave the wrong paper sizes to voting machines in primarily Republican districts to disenfranchise voters, because who the hell wants to stand in line for 3 hours to cast a vote? All right. But when the courts later on said, you know what, Kari, you actually won, but Katie's been in office, she already took the oath of office, we as a judiciary actually don't have the power to force her to vacate, because the judiciary has very little power when it comes down to it, or especially over the executive branch. So they can say, hey, Kari, you won, but there's not fuck all we can do about it, because she's the executive, and we have no power. And that's just reality. Let's see. You're going to have to explain how he's a traitor. Because Trump may be a lot of things, but he's also a patriot. And whether you realize it or not, a lot of his actions is helping us working class people. So you're going to have to explain to me how exactly he's a traitor by actually enforcing the law and going after terrorists. You're going to have to square the circle with that one with me. You may not like his policies, right? Because you're a Marxist shitbag, but that doesn't make him a traitor because he's doing things by the book. So you're gonna have to explain that one to me. Trump wasn't. Did Trump march on the Capitol with the federal troops or even a private army? No. And yeah, let's talk about J6 for a second. See, you guys don't keep up with the news. It's already been proven that their glowies had infiltrated the people that stormed. It was a protest that developed into a riot because of federal actors, undercover agents in the crowd that got them all ginned up to go do what they did at the Capitol building. But you got to understand that it was not an insurrection, because insurrections means you're going in armed with the purpose of taking out the government. That didn't happen. These people weren't armed. They were pissed, but they weren't armed. And yeah, they had federal agents undercover out there ginning up the crowd to get them to act up with the at the Capitol building. You understand? They were all over D.C. Where they were at was a small portion of it, right? And need I remind you about the false flag bomb they planted at the DNC building where Kamala Harris was supposedly hanging out at? Turned out that was a government plant. All right, so spare me, you J6 bullshit. And let's also not forget that not one of those people involved were charged with insurrection. Not one. So if it was such a slam dunk case for insurrection, then why couldn't they get anybody charged for insurrection? Because it didn't happen. It turned into a riot, and it's because it was egged on by federal agents. That's what happened. You can call me whatever you want. It doesn't change reality. You can call me whatever you want. It doesn't change history. It doesn't change reality. It's not a conspiracy theory gone mad. It's called reality. It's actually called what actually happened. Right? So okay. So explain the bomb at the DNC building when all this shit was going down. Please. I would love to hear what you have to say about that. Hello, Russia. Yeah. Right. It's been proven that there were undercover federal agents embedded within the Capitol rioters to gin up the emotions of that crowd to do what they did. And even then, it was pretty damn peaceful because, after all, the cops let them into the fucking building. Right? Now, there are some dipshits out there saying, well, that's a police action. They were just routing people from one side to the next so they wouldn't tear shit up. But yet, when they actually gained entrance inside the Capitol building, they were following the velvet ropes. Right? Yeah. A couple of assholes went into some congressional politician's office to kick up their feet to get a photo op, but they weren't in there defacing any of the artwork or the statues. They weren't putting graffiti all over the place and just setting shit on fire. They were walking through like it was a goddamn guided tour. I mean, yeah, some of them were pissed off and some of them did inappropriate stuff, but it was not to insurrection levels. That's ridiculous. Was I in Fargo? No, it wasn't. Stop. What are you talking about? Are you saying that no one was responsible for their own actions? No, I'm not. I never said that whatsoever. But what I can say is that mob mentality is a very real thing. And when emotions are already heated, it wouldn't be anything at all to go out there and saying some motivating words to get the crowd to act one way or the other. I could do it. If I can do it, you guys can do it. You see it at sporting events. All right? Mob mentality is a very real thing, and if you are any kind of a student on that subject, then yeah, I mean it's not that difficult because it's a very real thing. Okay. Cool story, bro. And they did. They did. And they served time, right? I'm saying that none of them were charged with insurrection, which was the claim, right? But they were charged with misdemeanor criminal trespass. And they served several years in jail for it. And enough was enough, and that's why Trump pardoned them, because they served their time. They went to court, they did their time, and then they were released. So no, they did not get off scot-free. But they're not to the levels of what these other assholes were saying that they were doing. It was criminal trespass, and that's it. They were not insurrectionists. And so don't get it twisted. They did pay the price. They did do the time. Yeah. Well, there's unfortunately a lot of it is a psyop, unfortunately, but we have to deal with it. Yeah, if he's confirmed to be in the files, I would want him tarred and feathered. Absolutely. If it comes out that Trump is a kid fucker, then yeah, I don't want him in office. I want him in jail. I just don't think it is, because it would have been used against him already if he were. They sent the fucking FBI to raid his house over an archive deal with some documents. All right, if there was any, in order to keep him from taking office, I mean, they tried to kill the man. At least 3 times I could think of. One actually got a shot off. If you don't think there was something in those files to connect him to being a kid fucker and they wouldn't have used it already, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. It's literally a miracle the man is not dead right now, and we didn't see his head explode like a ripe watermelon in Pennsylvania. Literally, just by turning his head, that's his life. That shot was going to hit his head. So disappointing. Thank you. They're Oakleys. Well, if he is, we're going to find out one way or the other. I don't think he is. And again, you're not using your critical thinking skills. You are thinking, you're wishing upon a star so hard, you might as well be Peter Pan. Yeah. There is no there. Do you understand? Is Trump an adulterer? Yes. Was he fucking kids? I doubt it. Because it would have gotten out already. Because their worst case scenario is happening in front of their eyes. The Democrats are being dismantled one brick at a time. And if you don't think they wouldn't unleash that shit to save their own asses, you're sadly mistaken. It's not there. On a ginned up charge, don't care. It was a political show trial. Yeah, and you think he touched that fucking, that hideous fucking broad? And should pay her like $150 million over a bullshit story that she created because she's a screenwriter. She created that exact story for like NCIS BMW SUV, and like years later she said that Trump did the same tour to her after she had already made that story. Come on, man. He's playing around with supermodels and fucking and porn stars. What the hell is he looking at that dumpy broad for? It's being real. What's up, Light? Yeah. WWE. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's an entertainer. But whatever. These were show trials, guys. Do you not realize that? Do you not realize that? They were there to drain the man's resources to keep him from running for president. Why is that so hard to understand? I'm doing great. How about yourself? On that situation, you didn't lose any sleep over it. You drink too much Kool-Aid. WWE fake world. Yeah, WWE is fake, but it's entertainment. It's entertainment. So is when I watch Star Wars. Do I think there's actually space wizards out there fighting with laser swords and blowing up giant moons that happen to be star bases that are destroying planets? No. It's entertainment. You think a 300-pound man's going to slam another 300-pound man on the mat repeatedly for an hour, jumping off top ropes and hitting each other with chairs and shit, and they're walking away from the mat? No, come on, man. It's entertainment. So, William, who is this? I can't see. Oh, okay. This affects people's lives. Yeah, I'm from India. Well, hello from America. Why is Marco Rubio revoking passports for slandering Israel? I don't know. Possibly because there's a lot of racial animus and hate going on right now. I mean, would you feel the same way if a lot of this animus and hate was happening from any other country? What if it was Nicaragua or fucking, I don't know. Pick another fucking country. Is it legitimate critiquing, or is there a lot of racial animus that's being perpetuated out there? Because a lot of you guys just don't like Jews, right? So when you're calling me weird fucked up shit like fascist and racist and all that, but then you go out there and you got no problems calling the Jews out, calling them fucking pigs and subhumans or whatever the fuck. I mean, it's like, hello, have you looked in the mirror? Do you not realize what you're doing and saying? So it is what it is. I've been lying to Americans for your JFK assassination. No such thing as a magic bullet. The Gulf of Tonkin and the incident in Vietnam had any more lies. Yeah. Well, Zed, you're part of my circus now. So if you're going to be a clown in my circus, you're going to have to wear the shoes, man. I'm just saying. You're going to have to put the legwork in. Da, 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 da. Why do you think I have a clown as my avatar? Because you're in my circus. Except the clown's not me. It's a reflection of you. You're the clown. You're Clowny. You weren't around for Clowny. I actually fixed my laptop. I can actually bring Clowny back. I downloaded all the software again. Clowny may have to make a return at some point. What's an Oakley? That's a brand of these glasses. Just like a Ray-Ban or wherever the fuck. These are Oakleys. Stop clowning. I can't. Clowning is life. Yeah. What's up, Rico? Hello from New York. Well, glad you're here, Bobby. Glad you can make it. I'm down here in Texas. What's this? It's me, the one and only, the magnanimous, the magnificent TC Boggs, at your service, Esquire. Do you think Trump? Yeah, Connie needs friends. Yes. What kind of content do I make? Uh, Basically, whatever catches my attention, I come out here and make have a little discourse on it, and I try to make it as informative and entertaining as possible to get people's attention. Doesn't always work, but I try. Sometimes it's politics. Most of the time it's politics. Sometimes it's making fun of dipshits in trucking because I'm a truck driver myself, and I actually started the channel calling out scam artists and other unscrupulous people in my industry that were out there taking advantage of people, especially new truck drivers. And I felt I needed to be a voice of reason out there on the YouTubes because there are a lot of scam artists. And their advice was, and apparently there's a resurgence in getting people in the worst situations that they ought to be in because they're coming across some kind of authority figure when in fact they're charlatans trying to make a quick buck. So there's some of that too. You may hear me reference some people you don't know about in the trucking sphere, and that's okay. You can stick around and you can learn who these people are, and you can despise them with me because they're actually hurting people. That's not true. I mean, there are right-leaning organizations out there that would be considered terrorist organizations. I agree, but the right in general, it's like saying the whole left is a terrorist organization. No. There are sensible people on the left. It's the terrorist organizations like BLM and Antifa that are out there committing political violence, which is, by the way, the very definition of terrorism. So no, just because you're on the right or the left, it doesn't make you a terrorist. If you're part of these organizations going after perpetuating political violence, that makes you a terrorist. See? Not everything a person on the left says is incorrect or without merit. I hate to break it to you. You know, there are some things I actually agree with. But I don't advocate for people blowing away each other in the streets. That I don't. If you think Luigi Mangione is a folk hero, you're part of the problem. You see. Is this you just answering some questions or genuine questions? By the way, it might sound rude on accident. No, I'm not used to. I'm looking at a phone with a lot of glare on it, and I'm catching some of you guys' questions, and I'm trying to answer them as I go along here. Yeah. Ron, you are a liar straight from hell, and I hope and pray you're on the front line. Okay. Are you talking about me, or is it somebody else in the chat? Mapogo. They did. Okay, hold on. Thoughts on veganism? You can eat or not eat whatever you want, as long as it's not like people. I don't really give a shit. If people want to get by on fruits, nuts, and berries and whatever, then go for it. It's not my jam. But then again, I was morbidly obese a little over a year ago, so I mean, I'm not exactly the diet expert. I probably should have ate less meat and more veggies, to be honest. And now I do. Now I get to do things like, whey protein, which is, I guess, not vegan because it's from milk, I guess. That's where whey comes from. But it's not exactly meat. I don't know. It's kind of a weird one. Why are you against BLM? Because they burn shit to the ground. And they ride in the streets for unscrupulous people that didn't deserve to be lionized and held up as a call to action. Mike Brown comes to mind. Floyd is another one. These were not good people. You know, there are legitimate atrocities that happen, and sometimes the police can be heavy-handed in their policing. But holding these people up as icons of morality and goodness was incorrect. They were not good people. So you can make a point without burning down your neighborhood. You can make your point without taking several city blocks of Seattle and the Chaz Chop Zone and terrorizing the inhabitants with the people that were living there and working there. So there's a way to make your point and affect change without showing your ass in the streets like they did. I mean, you could peacefully march and get your point across, but then when you get roving bands of protesters saying, you know, pigs in a blanket fry like bacon, and they were referring to police officers and troops they had were coming back and they were draped in the coffins. That was the pig in the blanket, because they have the American flag across the coffin, and they were saying they are burning in hell, so they fry like bacon. Yeah, it's not a good look. Okay, cool story, Jesse. Name a car for an edit. What? Yeah, maybe. Who's gunning children down? Who is gunning children down over here? I don't understand. Where are you getting with that? Flying Spaghetti Monster loves you. I was always more of a disciple of the Invisible Pink Unicorn, personally. The IPU for life, baby. But I like spaghetti. The Pastafarians may be onto something. Yeah. Well, yeah. That man is 30 acres right now. 30 acres of mule. Hey, I'm saying there's been some fucked up shit that's happened in our societies, and yeah, we do have some sin on our hands. But then we've also paid for it with generational trauma and blood. I mean, the Civil War happened. Civil rights movement happened. So the Great Society happened, so there was a great transference of wealth with LBJ's Great Society. If what LBJ did with welfare and giving special privileges to minorities not a form of reparations, I don't know what is, especially since it went on for so many fucking decades. Decades. All right? At some point, you have to say, okay, I have the same rights as my white neighbor next to me, and the Mexican one across the street, and the Asian guy catty corner to me. So we're all the same as far as the law goes. There is no longer state-sponsored racism. All right, that's gone. It's been gone for over 50 years. At some point, you have to take responsibility and get on with your life and stop blaming others for your failure. And that's for anybody. You know, there was a time and a place, and it's been there, it's been done, it's gone. Now you have to pick up with the rest of society and carry forward like everybody else. No. Mm-hmm. I haven't paid for shit. You don't think so? So you know me? You know what I've been through and my family's been through? Okay, cool story, bro. I'm glad you can speak upon my circumstances better than I can. Okay. I'm not out here talking for you and your experiences. Somehow you're going to tell me that what I've been through, and you know, okay, how I'm keeping people down, actively keeping people down, working my ass off, trying to keep everything together under Biden's, what Biden did to this economy and what the globalists have done, trying to raise a family, you know, not going to be able to retire because they've taken away all our pensions, and we only got 401ks to rely upon, and that's bullshit. And they keep taking more and more money and raising the retirement age for Social Security, and there's all the turmoil going on that hell, it may not even be around if America's even around. So I paid into something my entire life that I'm never going to take advantage of. Okay. I didn't go to college because it was too expensive. Lower middle class family. So I didn't get the benefit of being a poor fucker, right? But we didn't make a lot of money either, right? We made just enough money where I couldn't qualify for all the gives me dats. So I didn't go to school. Which I find ironic because now I hear these people bitching about, I went to college and came out with a $100,000 debt. Yeah, that's why I didn't go back in the 90s, because it was too expensive even back then. I made do with something else. I learned a trade. Yeah, sure did. Do I wish I could have gone to college? Yeah. Was I smart to go to college? Absolutely. I didn't do it because it was too expensive. So when I hear these people out here bitching about their student loans, I'm like, well, you didn't have to go to college, one. And two, when you did go to college, you didn't major in something that was actually marketable. You decided to do gender studies and underwater basket weaving instead of something in the STEM careers, all right, that were actually useful. You wanted to go with humanities and liberal arts instead of, actual science. Yeah, we only need so many sociologists and psychologists and fucking, poetry interpreters. Just saying. Yep. I'm not blaming anybody for not getting education other than myself and my circumstances. I chose not to go to university because it was too expensive, and I didn't want the cost. Yeah. Was that a mistake? Sometimes it feels like it. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Do I have some hard feelings about it sometimes? Yeah. Because my life could have been a lot easier. Or should have been. But it didn't turn out that way. But because I am a smart bastard, I still managed to come up with a career where I'm doing all right, where I can afford a house. It's a modest house, but it's a house. Yeah. Paid off car. It's an old car now, but it's paid off. So our needs are met for now, until they keep trying to erode away our way of life. But I'm not the only one that's affecting, so it is what it is. Yeah, there you go. I wanted to go the college route. I couldn't. I mean, the military route. I couldn't do it because I'm a severe asthmatic, and they wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole. And that was the recruiter's words, not mine. I said, look, man, I could do everything any other soldier could do. I just have a problem running. All right. You put me in any MOS, I could figure it out. I'll learn it. I'll be the best at it. But I can't run. My lungs won't let me. Well, I'm sorry. You could be anything you want in the military, but you're a soldier first, and soldiers got to be able to run. I'm like, well, fuck it. Fuck me. So I couldn't do it. I tried. But that's life, right? I didn't ask for my disability. It's something I had since birth, and I've had to learn to live with it. Do I go, oh, woe is me, this thing killed me, almost killed me, had actually killed me a couple times, but I kept coming back and fighting, and I couldn't do everything anybody else, every other regular person could do that was a healthy body. So I had to make do with shit that I can actually do, and I just learned how to deal with it like an adult. I didn't blame the universe for my issues. I learned to work around them and then to get on with the rest of my life. Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, when my father went to school, well, his generation, the boomers, it was the tuition was significantly cheaper, and the economy was much better, and they were able to pay for schooling if they didn't qualify for scholarships through part-time jobs and so on and so forth, right? So it was much different back then than it is now, and I do feel bad for a lot of the students going there because they are sold a bill of goods about, well, in order to make it in life, you have to go to school, and if not, then you're just going to be a sad sack of shit for the rest of your life, and you're doomed. And that's just not reality. That's just they're salespeople because they pay their overinflated salaries at the universities with those scholarships and the student loans. So, sorry, there's two squirrels fighting over there. It's literally squirrels. Anyway, I don't even know how we got in this track, guys. Let me get caught up. Multiple operations last year and this year. I am taking things slow and not busting my ass. So, yeah. Well, I'm sorry you went through that limo, but I'm glad you're feeling better. Okay. All right, Zed. Cool story, man. Allowing students for what billionaire assholes did, paying on students and discouraging people from getting an education is how we're getting tapped by the channel. No, that's not. Your anger is misdirected. College is a joke. I didn't see. People hear what they want to hear, guys. That's why it's so comical. That's why, again, that's why the clown is my avatar. It's a reflection of these people watching me. It's not me that's the clown. It's these fucking idiots. You're in my. I am the ringmaster. You are the fucking clowns. You're the freak show. You're the bearded lady, and the people that eat fire, and the sword swallowers, and everything else in between. You know, you're the fucking carny out here pitching tents. I'm just acting everything. See? I specifically said I didn't blame anybody for anything. That I had circumstances that were undeniable and I had to deal with them and get on with the rest of my life. I wasn't here blaming society for every one of my ills and proclaiming to the heavens that it's not fair that I'm not a multimillionaire, and I should be because I'm smarter than like 90% of the people out there. Not bragging, it's just reality. And it's just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Well, I mean, yeah, they created the policies and they allowed in so many illegals. I mean, the housing crisis is already a crisis, and then Biden comes in and lets in an estimated up to 20 million people, which is more than an entire state of Ohio with every man, woman, and child, right? You let more than a state's worth of people come in 4 short years that we already had a glut of illegals on top of that. So yeah, and then you allow these places like BlackRock to go out and start buying whole neighborhoods up wholesale, investing in the real estate at 30% markups, so they can buy these properties because they know the direction the economy is going into, and they need hard assets, and they exacerbated the housing crisis. Absolutely. And that's a big part of where people, at least here in the United States, generate their wealth from, is from their home. Do you not understand that? How that fucks us, the working class people? One of the few things that we have is our home to build wealth with, and they took that away from us. Do you not understand that? And whatever property is left, because they can't build the houses fast enough that they allow them to build them at all, are $500,000. Who can afford that? Coming right out of college. Oh, you're like, well, you can just get an apartment. Well, yeah, but the apartments are costing $2,000 a month. Minimum. So it's like people can't get ahead now. And that was because of Biden. Absolutely because of Biden. No, I'm not, actually. I can call out certain things and policy decisions because they do shape an economy. Yeah, they absolutely do. Did I support the bank bailouts in 2008 when they were over speculating on these houses that got us into the housing crisis to begin with that we never really have recovered from? Was I the great TC Boggs responsible for that? Were you responsible for that? Or was it our politicians getting rid of a lot of the like Glass-Steagall Act and things like, and breaks like that to prevent banks from becoming speculators? And they caught and then they were so too big to fail that the American taxpayer had to bail their happy asses out just so they can fuck us in the ass some more. They should have been allowed to fail. It would have been painful, but we would have been much better off as a society now if they were allowed to go the way of the dodo. And we had actual reform. But, yeah, that I don't agree with. Was I responsible for that? Did I shape the economy? Or am I just calling something out that I experienced? I don't know. I'll let you be the judge. That's what I'm saying. That's not our doing as American people, especially the working class. That was something foisted upon us. We were doing it the responsible way, right? Because quite frankly, we don't have the money to be real estate investors and speculators. Not to the degree where we have the opportunity to collapse an entire economy, such as the United States. All right, let's just not get it twisted. We don't have that kind of power at our socioeconomic ladder. And they were only able to do that because the politicians allowed them to get away with it. So, yeah, some things are out of our control. Who hires these immigrants? Well, small businesses, farms, ranches, construction companies, so on and so forth. Basically, any business that's on the margins that are trying to save a buck, which a lot of them are and are willing to do, because turns out if you allow a corporation to do a thing, they will take advantage of it. I mean, that's why we had a whole armed revolution over this, guys. Do you not remember the armed rebellion from Appalachia, like in West Virginia, the coal miner war? Do you remember that old song? 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older, deeper debt. And he sold his soul to the company store. The company store used to be a real thing. Why? Because these companies would go out to places like Appalachia, create company towns with company houses, and you had company stores, but they wouldn't take American currency. Oh no. You had to use company script. So when these people were out there working, they weren't paid in greenbacks. They were paid in company script. And they had a hell of a time converting that to actual American money. And so they had you by the balls, right? They controlled your house, they controlled your food, they controlled your education, they controlled your money, because you can't just leave there and go take your company money and fuck off to California or back east, or whatever. You were stuck because you had no real money. And the coal miners were tired of that shit. But it turns out you kind of have to force corporations to do the right thing. You have to put a boot to their neck to force them to behave. Otherwise, they will take advantage of you. And if you get too uppity, they hire the Pinkertons to come out and beat your head in. So, yeah. But it did happen, and it happened here in the United States. It did happen. So we had children working in the coal mines, and it was a travesty when they should have been getting an education. Uh, there's a reason why the laws are what they are, because we allowed these corporations to get away with too much, and they took advantage of the situation. So, like again, these companies won't do the right thing unless you force them to. So if you allow them to get away with hiring illegals instead of paying a proper wage by hiring an American citizen, then they're going to do it. But if the politicians are in bed with the people paying the lobbyists money to turn the other way as far as the regulations go, like on ranches and farms and constructions and all that, yeah. But then again, it hurts us, the working class people. And we've had enough. We've had enough of the bullshit. You already sold us a bill of goods with NAFTA, turning us into a service-based economy, gutting our industrial and manufacturing sector and sending that overseas so they can go fuck up the environment over there and treat people like slaves. And then whatever jobs were left here in the United States to make a decent living, now they're busing in thousands upon thousands of people from overseas, legally and illegally. So now, what few remaining domestic jobs we have remaining, we're having to compete with foreigners instead of other people in our community. So it's coming to a head, and people have had, you only can push people for so long until they've had enough. And we are at that stage. If you're on a map, it says, you are here. And you got the whole dotted line and all that. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. Yeah, I do. I do. They're not going to do it for the wages that they're advertising. No. But if they pay what they're supposed to pay, absolutely. Absolutely. But you're asking our young to go out there and work their hands to the bone and not reap the same benefits as the prior generations. What's the point of working 70 to 80 hours a week if you still can't make ends meet? What's the fucking point? You might as well just sit on the couch playing video games, because you're just spinning your wheels. You can work and work and work and work and work and work and work, and you're still starving. You still can't afford to keep your house, the electricity on, or pay your rent. So what's the point of working? Do you understand where they're coming from? I get it. Right? There's no light at the end of the tunnel for our youth. So they have given up. They are choosing another way. May not be the way that you appreciate, but they have chosen one. Yeah. I work my ass off for the little that I got, and they're trying to take it away from me. And I'm too old to retrain in something else in this stage of my life, so it's like, it's this or nothing, baby. It is what it is. But at least I got the little I got. I worry about for people younger than me. So yeah, there's a lot of anger and resentment out there. The boomers basically took the greatest economy and they pulled the ladder up behind them when they climbed up the corporate, when they went up the corporate, and then they're not retiring. They're still working. A lot of them are still working. They're not passing the torch. So yeah, it may not be them individually, but generationally, yeah, they fucked America. Because the boomers only ever voted in their self-interest depending on where their stage they were at in their lifetime. And they fucked the rest of us. They just did. Because they had so many people in their generation, they had the voting numbers to do that. I mean, it sucks, but that's just the reality of it. Yeah, well. Hey, come on, guys. There's 113 in here, and I got 22 likes. You could do better than that. If I'm even half-ass entertaining, even if you got a hate boner from me, you got to give me a thumbs up. I mean, come on, man. A lot of you in here are Marxists. You're all about free shit. You can give out a free thumbs up. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thumbs down works too. Give me a thumbs down. Just interact with it one way or the other. How about that? Not a Marxist. No, not a Marxist. And capitalism, getting rid of the gold silver standard. Well, that wasn't no, that was Nixon, and Nixon wasn't a boomer. No, he was too old to be a boomer. I think the first boomer president actually was Clinton. And we've already had a Gen X president in Obama. And then we went back to boomer with Trump. So Biden is old enough. I think technically he's part of the silent generation. I'd have to go back and look at the generational. He's the same generation as like John McCain, right? So I had to go but Nixon was too old to be a boomer. Yeah. Nixon's shock was France betraying the U.S. after the U.S. tried to help France. And yeah. He doesn't know what room in the house he's in. Let's just be real. Thanks to me, DuPont. Well, it's just reality. They voted. The boomers voted in their self-interest for the entire scope of their existence, right? So depending on what stage of life they're at, that's how they voted, right? So when they were young, they voted for them to get the Gives Me Dance when they were young, and now that they're elderly, they're voting for the Gives Me Dance while they're in their twilight years. You know, they've always voted to make their lives easier, and sometimes, and usually to the detriment of everyone else and the society in general. It just is what it is. That's just reality. I don't have to like it. I mean, I'm Gen X. You know, I had to deal with the aftermath. But you got to make your way. But the thing is, our young people now, Gen Z, Alpha, not so much the millennials. A lot of them just went fucking crazy. But at least the men on Gen Z and Gen Alpha are turning more right-leaning. And that means they're more populist-minded, which means they actually give a shit, or starting to give a shit about working-class people because, again, you're looking at a map. You are here, right? And it's time to start voting in your self-interests. And that's the entire point of populism. You know, the Democrats used to be the populist party, right? They were the working man's party for the longest time until they abandoned the working class and decided they wanted to be the hedge fund manager party and the party of the oligarchs and the tech bros. Just saying. So they gravitated. So while we went through a populist revolution in the GOP, that's why we're the pro-union party now. You can believe it, but we are. The Democrats are undergoing a Marxist revolution, and they're going in the opposite direction. And it's sad to see, because we got a lot of politically ignorant people out there that think that socialism is the way to go, when it's always been a disaster. And then they try to convolute what socialism actually incorporates in as far as the definition goes, where they can't even really give you a definition of socialism. And yeah, they get this all twisted up and shit. It's just funny to watch. They're the part of the tech bros, and Trump fired a bunch of actual lifelong bureaucrats to place with the young tech bros and cater to billionaires. Well, some of them are coming around, right? Some of them are there. There are still patriots. I'm saying that as a generalization. Are you telling me the people that run Google and Yahoo and Cisco and these other big tech companies, you're saying they're Republican? Is that what you're telling me? The people that inhabit the Facebook headquarters and Apple and all of them, these trillion-dollar corporations, you're telling me that they're Republican? Seriously? Yeah, you may get a few outliers, right, that are uber libertarians. They like to hang out with people like Elon. Uh, but by and large, these people are leftists. I don't even know why that's an argument. Well, that's true. That is true. That's why we still have power as working class people, because we have numbers. But the trick is they get us fighting amongst ourselves, that we don't unify into one voting bloc. But that's changing, at least with the Republicans. You can vote for your interests and not be a communist shitbag, because communism is. If you're looking at China today, are you telling me they're a communist society? What kind of society do you think China has right now? Are they communist? You know, you tell me. Is it? You think they got it all figured out there in China? Did the Soviets have it all figured out? It's a lie. It's a big fat lie. They just got rid of the old political class and the old oligarchs, and they replaced them with politicos, and the politicians who came into power became the new oligarchs and the people in charge. The people suffered under both systems. They got bupkis. Bupkis. All right. The siren song of socialism is a song that leads you to your, just like the sirens in the Greek tragedies of Odysseus with the Iliad. The siren song is a sweet song, but they're calling you to your doom and your death. No, they don't. No, they don't. And China does not invest in their people. How do you figure? Dude, you've got so much to learn about China. That's crazy. That is fucking crazy. I can't. They were literally welding the people in their apartments during COVID because they were getting out and starving to death. Do you not realize that? Oh yeah, they invested in their people. There's probably still corpses welded inside they're entombed in their apartment to this day because of that. They are now trying to force their young women to have children because they have a severe population decline situation going on. So now they're trying to mandate and force the women to start having kids. You know that? Forcing them into indoctrination centers to learn about the great merits of Mao and Xi Jinping is not giving them an education. You got a lot to learn, man. Yeah. No, they're not. Not even close. 70, that dumbass. 71% of mass shootings are done by far-right extremists. That is a bald-faced lie. Yeah, and that's why we have more people in jail, right? Freedom is not, I mean, not to be cliche, but freedom is not free, right? You are literally given enough rope to hang yourself with in a liberty-minded society, right? The reason why China has less people in jail is because, one, they'll just kill you, and two, it's a police state. So unless you want us to be an actual police state, I don't know what you're advocating for. No, it's not. It's not. 71% of the mass shooters are not. Are not. So you understand, when you're saying mass shootings, you're talking about a lot of gangland violence too. So you're saying that these gangs aren't in Chicago that are killing each other over the Labor Day weekend. These barbecues are right wing, right? Are we having a Jesse Smollett moment here, where Chicago's MAGA country? Did you get off your meds today? With words coming out of your mouth, I don't think they mean what you actually think they mean. I'm sorry, Bobby. It's going by pretty quick, man. I'm not ignoring it, and I got glare. I'm not doing it on purpose, man. I hope you're doing well. I don't want a police state. I just want the rule of law enforced. I am not a fan of anarchy, I can tell you that. No, I took mine. I think a lot of it is by gangland violence. Yeah, I absolutely do. The majority of the mass shootings are done by gang members. That's not even debatable. It's not even debatable. Well, they're earbuds. You know, I don't know. It's Benjamin Netanyahu beaming this straight to my brain, and I'm just telling you people over the internet. Shh, it's a Jewish conspiracy. And house on fire. Yeah, Elton John's. I wish. I'd like to have Elton John's money and his musical talent. I can't carry a tune in a bucket. Who's detained without nobody? I'm pretty sure they are. Oh, Trump is a demon. Oh, that's definitely a lie showing they're uneducated. They are. Oh yeah, because you millennials are gonna straighten me out, right? All right, carry on with your septum piercing and your purple hair. Yeah. See, even Elton John knows there's only two genders. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, vaccines do work, but they did rush through the COVID vax. But there's a reason why Americans aren't falling off of, measles, mumps, polio, and dysentery, and all the other shit in between, right? It's because vaccines do work, but they did rush this one. But again, it was a biological weapon unleashed by China on the planet, so we didn't know what the mortality rate was going to be because it was a bioweapon. Oops. So yeah, there was a rush to try to save as many people as possible. And unfortunately, some people, they had bad side effects. So you're living in a police state, welcome to communism. No. When you live in when you live in a city where the rule of law is not being enforced, then you're in dereliction of duty, and order will be maintained. You're getting that twisted. The cities that are following the rule of law and maintaining order, military ain't there, are they? No, they're not. There's a reason for that. When you have more, when you have a lower mortality rate and a higher chance of being killed in Chicago than you do at, say, Mogadishu or fucking Fallujah back when the war was going on. I mean, might be just a little skosh of a problem going on with the politicians running the city. I'm just saying. Bobby, if you post it again, I'm looking for you, bro. I'm sorry. I've been looking for your comment. Let's see. Free speech means you're free from arrest. You're not free to social. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's nobody knocking down. There are no federal agents knocking down people's doors like they are in Great Britain. There are no police coming knocking on your door for making a mean tweet and pissing somebody off. It's literally people saying some really awful shit, and it's affecting their businesses, and they don't want to be associated with people like that. I get most of my political views from independent media nowadays. I don't really trust a lot of mainstream media, to be perfectly honest. Some of my favorites, though not all of them, Asmongold. I do like me some Asmongold, and not just because he's another Texas guy, even if he is in Austin. I like Tim Pool because I think he's moderate. I know some people like, depending what how far left you lean, you think he's a right-wing radical, but he's actually pretty moderate. And I've been on and off listening to him since he did the what the hell they call it, the stand up to Wall Street. What the hell do they call it back in the day? Todd. Oh, haha, toddler fonder. Oh. Crime stats are down because less people are getting arrested. Yeah, that's true. I look like Diddy. Do I now? Oh, that's news. When it comes to grievances of the common, do you think that fulfillment is the recourse that grief, or should struggle become the mold? I think struggle is part of the human condition, unfortunately. Let's see, Temple was paid by the FSB. Look into it. Well, he was part of a group that was funded by the FSB. Yeah. Now, did he realize it at the time when he was part of that group? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Well, thank you, Raker. And that classic Todd guitar riff. Yeah. So maybe not good information. Well, but I can't really listen to mainstream media either, right? Because they are being funded by lobby groups, pharmaceutical companies, and so on. A lot of them are compromised in their editorial leanings. You see, like Tucker Carlson's very much more verbose and open with his opinions now than he was under Fox or even CNN, right? So, yeah, they stifle what you can say and put out to the world. So, like I said, it's a short, podcast with loaded eaters. I like them. They give me some British news and in general what's going on with the EU. Jolly Heretic, I like him. And there's more. There's more. Well, I mean, I trust independent news sources. Cash Jordan's another one. I like Cash Jordan. Do you ever watch him? Sometimes I'll watch BBC. I do source Reuters. Yes, I mean these are some things I do look at when I try to source material, especially when I put it on a post. I use Daily Mail. I like the Daily Mail. It's supposed to be an independent news source from the UK. But I mean, they are all biased towards their opinion too. So I do try to get a mix. I do. I really do. That's why I agree with some tenets of the left and some of the things they're bitching about, because they're legitimate grievances. It's just that the solution is not Marxism. I think it just depends on what they're talking about. I mean, if they just give you a pure news story, I think they're reliable. When you started getting into the Associated Press giving you opinion pieces, obviously it's opinion, it's not news. So you have to know what you're looking at. Oh my God, you're still going about the Proud Boys. Well, you can hang on to those Proud Boys, right? You can hang on to that for the rest of your life, but things are still going to be changing. And Antifa is still declared a domestic terrorist organization. And they're about to get their shit pushed in, and there's nothing you can do about it. So how about that? That's not true. You have not been listening to AOC, Rashid Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar, evidently. Who have the ear of the Democratic Party. You have not been listening to Bernie Sanders talking over the last, 35 years in politics. So they are calling for Marxism. Absolutely. What do you think the DSA is, the Democratic Socialists of America? What do you think that means? Yes, they are pushing for Marxism. They absolutely are. And now, because they're not getting their way, they're killing people. Yeah. Well, the KKK is a terrorist organization. That's why they were primarily dismantled. They're not. They are a shadow of what they used to be. Though I will say that these old right-wing groups that have been, part of a bygone era are going to make a resurgence if the left keeps doing what they're doing. I can tell you that. Just whining about a guy being shot in general. Yeah. What's up, Tyrannus? All right, guys, it's been almost 2 hours. I got shit to do, but I have enjoyed your company. And I thank you for being here. And if you haven't already done so, maybe you would take another look at the thumbs up and possibly even think about subscribing, because I don't keep a normal schedule. So if you want to come in bullshit and yell at me some more, you can do that, but you got to know when I'm live. So be sure you hit the bell. You guys take care. TC out.